Hi guys, welcome back. In the last session, we started our discussion related to REST client development. So what is REST client? The application which is accessing other applications is called as REST client. In Spring Boot, we can develop REST client in three ways. One is by using REST template. Second one is by using web client. Third one is by using FIAN client. So here we have a provider running in the AWS cloud, IRCTC API running in the AWS cloud. Now, I want to develop Make My Trip application. That Make My Trip application should access IRCTC application. So if you want to develop the client, first we need to understand API details. For that, we have documentation. Okay, let me go to my AWS account and let me start my application. Okay, so let me go here and let me start my application. Yesterday, after our class is completed, I have stopped that machine, so application got stopped. So now I'm starting that machine again. I will run my provider. Provider is running in the AWS cloud, a Linux VM, instance state, start the instance. Now the Linux machine is getting started. Once this Linux machine is started, I will run my boot application available in that machine so that AWS cloud machine application will be available for public access. Now, based on the documentation given by the IRCTC, I'm going to develop my Make My Trip application. Perfect. So let's start our project. Yeah, Linux machine is running. Click on connect. Okay, I will connect to this machine here itself directly. Now, once the connection got established, you can check ls-l, my jar file is available. Java-jar space IRCTC jar file is available. So with this, my application will run in the AWS cloud. My application will run in the AWS cloud. Now, go to the machine public IP. So the machine public IP is available. Public IP colon 8080/swagger-ui.html. So now swagger-ui.html. So when I access this URL, I'm able to access the documentation of this REST API. So if we see the documentation, there is a post method and there is a get method. For the post method, it is expecting this passenger data and it is providing the ticket data as a response. Okay, guys. So input is the passenger data, output is the ticket data. Now the URL pattern is a /ticket. It is binded to post request method. Now in order to access that IRCTC REST API, I need to develop my Make My Trip application. Okay, guys. Now, so here I will create one Spring Boot application as a Make My Trip application with user interface. New Spring Starter project. Let me create this application as 26 Spring REST Make My Trip application. Make My Trip app. Now, so here click on next and click on Dev Tools, click on Lombok, click on Web Dependency. Web Dependency, Lombok Dependency, and Dev Tools I'm using. Whenever we add the web dependency, by default, we will get REST template. First, I will show you the development with the REST template. Click on next and click on finish. Now, Make My Trip application is getting created. So in this Make My Trip application, we will get the data from the UI. Passenger data we will get from the UI and the ticket data we need to give as a output. So what data that we need to represent in the passenger? Passenger data should look like this. First name, last name, to, from, date of journey and train number. So now in the Make My Trip application also, we need to create our binding classes. Okay. Before going to create the binding classes, let us verify here. In this Make My Trip application, I will develop a simple JSP page for the UI to capture the data. Now, so here Boot Web Starter is available, Dev Tools available, and Lombok is available. Let me add Tomcat embed Jasper dependency. Let me take from mvnrepository.com and let me add Tomcat embed Jasper to compile our JSP files. Okay, so I'm taking Tomcat embed Jasper. So this dependency I will add in the pom.xml so that here that JSP files will be compiled in our project. So let me go to the old version of the Spring Boot because 3.0 I'm not using because I don't have Java 17. Now Java version, I'm taking it as 1.8. All right. Now, along with this web starter and DevTools, I'm adding one dependency called Tomcat embed Jasper dependency. So this Tomcat embed Jasper dependency is used to download the JSP file to compile JSPs available in the project. Got my point? So I have added Tomcat embed Jasper. What is the purpose of Tomcat embed Jasper? Tomcat embed Jasper is used to deal with the JSP files in the project. It is used to deal with the JSP files in the project. Okay, guys. Now, in this project, I created a boot application. In this boot application, I have given the dependencies. One is a web dependency. Another one is a DevTools dependency. Third one is embed Jasper. Fourth one is a Lombok. Okay, guys. Now, let me create binding classes in my project, new class. So now here, I need to bind request class. What is that? Passenger. Passenger class will represent the request data. Ticket will represent the response data. Okay. Ticket I'm going to create in the response package. Ticket class will be available. Passenger class will represent input and ticket will represent the output. What input we need to send in the request? Passenger data. Passenger date of journey is required. Passenger date of journey is required. Passenger first name is required. From last name is required. Let me remove everything. Date of journey is required. Let me write a variable. Private string date of journey. Private string first name. Private string last name. Okay. Private string from. Private string to. Private string prime number. So these are the values that I will get from the customer as an input. This input I need to send to the IRCTC. So I'm taking passenger object. For this, I'm writing @data. Now, @data is a Lombok annotation. So this is the input data that I need to send from the Make My Trip application to IRCTC application. That input data, Make My Trip will access from the end user. End user should send passenger data to the Make My Trip. Make My Trip will send the passenger data to the IRCTC. Okay. So similarly, go for the ticket class. What variables I need to create in the ticket? In the documentation, they are telling this is the response will come to the client. In the documentation, they are telling this response will come to the client from ticket ID, private string, ticket ID, or I can take it as an integer also. Private integer, ticket ID, and I can take private string from. So what is the from station? Private string from and private string to, private string ticket status, private string ticket status, and private ticket cost. Okay. Private string ticket cost also will be available. So ticket cost, and private string prime number. So these are the fields that we are getting from IRCTC in the response. Okay. So this is my response binding class. I will represent this as @data. Okay. So with this, my request class is available and my response class is also available. Now, here guys, I will create one controller class. Here I will create one controller class to handle the request and response. Now let me take one class called controller. I'm taking a class as Make My Trip controller. So this is Make My Trip controller class. So this is a normal controller class. So in this controller class, I'm going to specify @controller. Now I will write one method which will return index page. That's it. Public string index. Public string index. This is responsible to return index page. That's it. Nothing else. @get mapping slash. So index is a JSP page that I'm going to create in the view files. Index is a JSP page that I'm going to create in the view file. Right, a view file I'm going to create. Now, let me go for my controller class. This controller class is returning a simple index page. What will be there in the index page? Let me create that index page. Go to my SRC main. In this, I'm going to create a folder called web app folder. In this web app folder, I will create a folder called views. In this views, I will create a file called index.jsp. I will create a file called index.jsp. Now, let me delete this. I want a JSP file to be available. Right click, new, other, JSP. I want to create one JSP file to write my presentation logic. The JSP name I'm giving as index.jsp. Click on finish. Now in this JSP, I will write one table. Okay, guys. Now in the table, we will write TR. In the TR, we will write TD. Okay, guys, TD. And here I'm writing one TD. Now, what is the data that I need from the client? From the client, I need client first name and last name. So here I will take the first name. To take that first name, I will write basic HTML. Input type is equal to text. Name is equal to first name. Input type is equal to text, name is equal to first name. So similarly, I will go for last name, first name, last name. So this one I will give as L name. First name, last name. In the passenger, date of journey, that is date of journey, we will give it as a DOJ. Then from and to. So here I will give as from. Input type text is equal to from. Here I will give to, text is equal to address, and I will give train number. Right, simple, some dummy value. Train number. So input type is equal to text, name is equal to train number. So this is our passenger data I'm writing. Along with this, I will write one button, form, submit. Input type is equal to submit. Input type is equal to submit. I will not write anything here. Input type is equal to submit. Here value is equal to book ticket. Value is equal to book ticket. I will keep this inside a form tag. I want to submit the form. Now in the form, I will write action is equal to some value and the method is equal to post. Action, that is book. Okay. Inside the form, I will keep my table. Okay. Now this is my simple JSP page, which is used to capture the data from the passenger. This is a simple JSP page. This is simple JSP page, which is having the form, which is having a form. Here you can use Timeleaf or you can use JSP. Just a simple presentation form I want to create. So that is user interface, which will have a button called submit to book the ticket. Now here I have a controller. In the controller, I will write one method, public string book ticket. Okay. Book ticket method will return same page or it can return another page as a output. Okay, guys. Now here, let me return a success page. So here this is binded to request called post mapping. In the post mapping, I'm giving the URL as book ticket and I'm expecting passenger data as input. That is my request object. Passenger data I'm expecting as input. Now system.out.println, as of now, I'm just printing the request object. Are we able to capture the data from the form or not? Once we capture the data from the form, I will develop a service layer. In the service layer, our REST client will be available. First, let me test it. Is it working as expected or not? Success page, another JSP page I'm going to create. So in this JSP, I will display ticket data under development. So I will simply write a message under development. This page is under development to print the ticket data. Okay, guys. So here I will give ahref is equal to /go back. Simple one, href tag I'm giving. Now let us go for our resources folder. In the properties, we need to configure spring.mvc.view.prefix is equal to /views. Spring.mvc.view.suffix is equal to .jsp. Like this, we are configuring view resolver. Fine, good. Refresh, update Maven project. Then let's see, are we able to display the form and are we able to capture the form data or not? Okay, guys, good. In the WebMVC, I explained both JSP forms and TimeLeaf forms. You can use anything. Right click, run as boot application. I just want to see my UI page is displaying or not. And am I able to capture the data from the UI or not? I need to check that. Now my application is started on the Tomcat server with the port number 8080. Now go to browser. Now let's access our UI page. Localhost : 8080. Perfect. Localhost : 8080 / now I am not getting any output. So my method is executed or my method is not executed. src main web app views index.jsp. It is not executed. Application.properties /views. Okay, let me restart it once again. Refresh, run as boot application. Page should be loaded, guys. Clear the console. Perfect. Now, are we able to load our form? So as per our diagram, user interface is available or not? User interface is available or not? As per the diagram, user interface is available. In this user interface, I will write the logic. I have a form in this user interface. Now here, I will mention that enter passenger details. Simply, I will specify enter passenger info to book the ticket. Now go to our web page, refresh. Enter passenger information is available. Now you enter the data and you click on the book ticket. Currently, do I have any logic to book the ticket in the Make My Trip application? In the UI, the button submission will happen, book ticket. Action is equal to book ticket, method is equal to post. Let us go to our controller. In the controller, do I have any logic or it is a dummy logic? In the controller, do I have any logic or I have a dummy logic now? Dummy logic. I need to check, am I able to capture form data or not? Am I able to capture the form data or not? Okay. If I'm able to capture the form data, then I will write the logic to access the REST API. Okay. Now let me go here, enter the details, first name, last name, date of journey, DOJ. Right. Let me give 30/03/2023. From HYD to Pune, train number, something like this. Now go to our console. Are we able to capture the form data or not? Check it. Clear the console and click on book ticket. So when I click on book ticket, it is saying under development. Go to here. Guys, am I able to take the passenger data? When I submit the form, am I getting the passenger data or I am not getting the passenger data? We are getting the passenger data in the form of object. So can I say form data is binded to this object? Can I say form data is binded to this object? Yes or no? Fine. Now, so with this, my user interface is ready. My controller is ready. What I need to develop now? What I need to develop now? Service layer. What I need to do in the service layer? What logic I need to write in the service layer? What logic I should write in the service layer? REST client logic I should write in the service layer. So what is REST client? The application which is accessing other applications is called as REST client. In Spring Boot, we can develop REST client in 3 ways. One is by using REST template. Second one is by using web client. Third one is by using PN client. Now first I am going with the REST template. Let me stop my project now. Let me stop my project. Let me develop service layer in this project. Make my trip service. New class. Make my trip service. Okay. Dot service. This make my trip service is responsible to communicate with the IRCTC API. So first we need to decide what is the URL of the IRCTC. Private, static, final, string, IRCTC endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but the URL. So where is the IRCTC endpoint? IRCTC URL is IRCTC is running in the AWS cloud. Okay, let me configure IRCTC endpoint URL. This is the URL of the IRCTC endpoint. In that URL, our method is having a URL pattern. Our operation, book ticket operation. What is the URL? /ticket is the URL pattern. Now, so this is the endpoint URL to book the ticket in the IRCTC. http:// IP address of the Linux machine 8080 is the Tomcat port number. So our application is running in the AWS cloud machine. Ticket is the URL pattern. So can I call this is the endpoint URL of our application, guys? Can I call this is the endpoint URL of our application? Yes, we can call this as the endpoint URL of our application. This is called endpoint URL of our application. Okay, now let me write one method here, guys. Public ticket process ticket booking. Process ticket booking by taking passenger data. Process ticket booking by taking passenger data. So ticket booking logic I will implement or I will access IRCTC API. Ticket booking logic I will write it or I will access IRCTC API. IRCTC API. Okay, Jilani, if you join late, I can't repeat, man. Already half an hour class is completed. How can I repeat again? Good. So here we have created process. We are creating a method. In this method, we should write the logic to book the ticket, or we need to access IRCTC API to book the ticket. We need to write the logic to access the IRCTC API. Do we know the URL of the IRCTC API now? Yes, we know the URL of the IRCTC API. So now what I will do is, I will create the object for REST template. REST template is a predefined class. REST template RT is equal to new REST template. What I'm doing, guys? I'm creating the object for the REST template. Now, what is the responsibility of the REST template? REST template is responsible to send the request to the IRCTC. So REST template should send an empty request to the IRCTC, our REST template should send passenger data in the request body. REST template will send an empty request to the IRCTC, or it should send passenger data to the IRCTC. It should send passenger data to the IRCTC. Do you remember we discussed request packet and response packet? Do you remember that we discussed request packet and response packet? Yes. Now, my REST template class should send a request to the IRCTC. Get request or post request? To book the ticket, I should send a get request or post request? Post request. How I will know that I need to send a post request? Documentation. / ticket method is binded to post request. I need to send a post request. Now, here I have the passenger data I got from the end user in the UI. RT dot post. RT dot post. Now what I need to do? RT dot post for entity. What is the method I'm going to call? RT dot post for entity. Now here I need to specify 3 parameters for the post for entity method. What are the 3 parameters for the post for entity method? To which URL you want to make a request, and what data you want to send in the request body, and what response you are expecting. Okay. So my IRCTC endpoint is available. I will specify that here. Request data, my passenger data is available. I will send passenger data in the request body, and whatever the response we get from the IRCTC, I want to convert that response into ticket object. So now, am I converting the passenger to XML or JSON, or I am passing the passenger object directly for the post for entity method? I am passing passenger object directly for the post for entity method. I am passing passenger object directly for the post for entity method. Then what will happen? Here, this post for entity method will convert passenger data to JSON, will send the JSON data to the IRCTC API. What IRCTC API will do? Will send the ticket JSON. That ticket JSON should be converted to ticket object. So passenger data will be converted to JSON. Ticket data will be converted to ticket object. And finally, it is giving me the response entity. Now here, once I get the response entity object is returned by that method. Once I got the response entity dot get status code value. What is the status code that we are going to get? We should get the status code as 201. If I get the status code as a 201, then only we can say the ticket booking got completed successfully. If status code is equal to 201, then it is a success response. Then what I will do? Response entity dot get body. Response entity dot get body, which will give me ticket object. Now I'm going to return that ticket object. Otherwise, I will return some null value. My ticket booking got failed. Now guys, observe. I am developing a service layer. So as I have shown you in the diagram, I have created one UI page. In the UI page, user will enter the data. User will click on the submit button. When user click on the submit button, that from that UI, request will go to controller. Controller will take the data from the form, and the controller will call the service method. What the service method will do here? Our service method will call the REST API. Where is the REST API? The REST API is running in the AWS cloud. So to send a request, post request, I'm using a method called post for entity. For the post for entity method, there are 3 parameters available. One is IRCTC URL, and what is the request data? Whatever the response we are getting, how you want to represent that response. Post for entity method will take my passenger object, will convert the passenger to JSON, and will send a post request to this URL. How it will send a post request? I'm already calling post for entity method, and I'm having a ticket class. So that means whatever the response you get from the IRCTC, convert into ticket object. Client side only, the JSON will be converted to ticket object. right? So we no need to write the logic to convert the Java to JSON, JSON to Java. That will be happening at the server side as well as at the client side. Now, status code. It is a post request. When it is a post request, what status code we are returning from our API? So when the record is created, actually it should return 201. Let me check it in my provider. What status code I am returning? If ticket booking is completed, what is the status code? 200. Book ticket 200 only, it is going to return. I did not change that, guys. So status code will come as a 200. 200 means successful. 200 means successful. So if I get the status as a 200, then that is a success response. I will return the ticket object. Are you guys able to understand my service class now? So in the service class, ticket booking logic is available. Or in the service class, IRCTC API we are accessing. In the service class, ticket booking logic is available, or we are making a REST call. This is called REST client development. I'm developing a REST client. This REST client will send the request to the REST API. Where is my REST API? My REST API running in the cloud platform. Somebody developed that REST API. Now I am developing a client application. From this client application, I want to access the IRCTC API. Now, are you guys clear with this logic now? What I am doing in this service layer? You got the clarity? How I am writing the code? You got the clarity? What is the code I am writing? Yes, this is the URL which I want to access. And this is the method which is taking the passenger object as input. Then I'm creating object for the REST template. REST template is one predefined class in the Spring Web MVC to make a HTTP request. Now this is my IRCTC URL. To that IRCTC URL, I want to send a post request. I'm going for post for entity method. 3 parameters: URL, request data, response type. Now once I send that request, I'm getting the status code. If I get the 200 status code, that means my ticket booking is completed. Right, service layer. Go to controller, inject the service. Private, make my trip, service. Auto wiring. At the rate auto wide. At the rate auto wide. Okay, guys. Now here, instead of printing the data, my REST controller method will call service method. Service dot process ticket booking with the passenger data. What it will return with the passenger data? That is a request object. So after booking the ticket, what is it returning? It is returning a ticket object. It is returning a ticket object. Got it? It is returning a ticket object. Now, this ticket data, I want to send to the UI. So to send the data to the UI, we will take a model object. Now what I will do? Model dot add attribute key comma value. Key is ticket. Now here I will say ticket info. This ticket object I will send to the UI. In the UI, I want to see my ticket booking. Okay. Now, so once you call this post request, once user submit the form in the UI, so it should go to, once user submit the form in the UI, then let me close this also. Right. So once user submit the form, then it will come to this method. This method will call the service method. Service method will book the ticket by calling IRCTC. And here, my service method sending passenger data to IRCTC API. IRCTC API will give me the ticket data in the response body. I'm taking that data in the response body and I'm trying to send it to the controller. Controller sending the data to the UI by using model object. What is this model object? It is used to represent the data in the key value and send from the controller to UI. So ticket data I'm sending to success page. Now go to our success page. In the success page, let us access ticket data. So now I will say, please find your ticket details. Please find your ticket info. Please find your ticket details. Now, so here we are going to create a table. In this table, I will represent tr, one table row. In the table row, td will be available and closing that td. Closing that td. And here another td will be available, closing that td. So what I will represent here? Ticket ID. Ticket ID. So here I can access ticket object, ticket ID. So where is that ticket ID? Here I'm representing the ticket variables, right? Ticket ID from to status and all that stuff. Ticket ID is available. This is in one row. In the second row, ticket status, ticket cost from to, right? Ticket ID, then ticket status. So ticket status, I want to print it. Ticket status will be printed. And here ticket cost will be printed. So here ticket cost is available. The ticket cost also I'm going to print here. And here I will print from ticket dot from, and I will print to. I will print to 2, and 2 will be printed, and a time number. So ticket object is sending from controller to UI, and in the UI, I'm printing that ticket data. So that's it. This is one JSP which will print the response which is given by IRCTC. Now look at the diagram. Whatever I have represented in the diagram, same thing I have developed. So now if you go to our application, let us run our application now. Let us run our application now. Clear the console, close all these things, update the project, refresh. Now let me run this project. Run as boot application. Let me go for debug as boot application. I'm running this project in the debug mode. Now, so let us access base URL of the project. When I access the base URL, it will display one form to book the ticket. So let me access that form, localhost : 8080. So now I'm having the basic form. I'm having a basic form. So here, how the basic form is coming? In my controller, I have written one method with a slash. It is going for index. What is index? Index is a simple JSP here, which is having a form. In this JSP, I have a button, book ticket button. Enter the passenger data. Now I am adding Ashok ID, date of journey, from address to address, and train number. I'm filling the data in the form to book the ticket. I'm filling the data in the form to book the ticket. Then here, I will click on book ticket. When I click on the book ticket, the post request will go to my make my trip controller. Post request will go to my make my trip controller. Post request is taking the passenger data. Form data will come to passenger object. Then immediately, my controller method is calling the service layer method. What is the logic in the service layer method? Service layer method creating object for REST template. REST template is a predefined class to develop a REST client. Using the REST template object, I am calling post per entity method. What is the purpose of post per entity? To make a post request with the passenger data in the request. Passenger object I am giving. Passenger object will be converted to JSON by this REST template and will send it to IRCTC URL. It will send a post request to this URL with the passenger data. I mean to say, the request packet will be prepared by REST template. When I call post for entity, it will prepare the request packet and it will send it to IRCTC. IRCTC will execute the request and it will send the response packet for make my trip. So whatever the response is coming from the IRCTC, I want to convert that response body to ticket object. So here, REST template will convert the passenger to JSON and will send the post request. And it will receive the JSON response for the ticket. The ticket data, it will convert back to ticket data will be converted to ticket object. Clear? Once I get the response, I'm checking the status code. If the status code is 200, that is success. I'm getting the body. In the body, ticket object data will be there. So here it will convert the ticket JSON to ticket object, will give me the ticket object. The ticket object I'm returning to my controller. My controller sending the ticket data to the UI by using model, and it is returning success. Success page will open. What I'm doing in the success page, I'm printing the ticket information which is booked by Make My Trip. So end user will feel that ticket booking is happening in the Make My Trip, but actually ticket booking is happening in the Make My Trip, or ticket booking is happening at the IRCTC. Ticket booking is happening in the Make My Trip, or ticket booking is happening in the IRCTC. Ticket booking is happening in the IRCTC. Who is a provider? Who is a consumer? Guys, who is a provider? Who is a consumer? Come on, guys. IRCTC is the provider and Make My Trip is the consumer. Are you guys able to understand my development now? You got the clarity? What is the code available in the controller? Controller just calling the service. Service is calling the IRCTC API. Service is sending a request to IRCTC by using REST template. Which request? Post request. Now let's execute this. Clear the console. Here I'm filling the form and I'm clicking on book ticket. When I click on book ticket, what happened? I got the error. Connection refused, cannot connect. There is some error. Nested exception, connection refused, cannot connect. I'm not able to connect to that. Let me do once again. Book ticket, it is failed. Post request for this URL got failed. Nested exception is connection refused. So my client is not able to access the IRCTC. Let me check it. What is the reason? Connection refused, not able to connect. Connection is failed between the consumer and provider. Let me check my Linux machine. EC2 instance. This is running. Public IP colon 8080/swagger-ui.html. No, it is not running, guys. So I think there is an issue with the connection. Let me connect to it. I think I have closed the terminal. My application got stopped. ls-l java space -jar irctc-api.jar. I'm trying to run this application now. Application got stopped, guys. Now the application is getting started again. Now it is running in the provider. A provider application is running. Now go back to our consumer application. Now I am in the consumer application. Enter the details from first name, last name, date of journey, from, to, and train number. Now clear the console. Now click on book ticket. Now what happened here? Ticket data is printed, or ticket data is not printed. Ticket data is not printed. So there is a problem in the success page. Go to success.jsp. So dollar is missing. Expression language na dollar we have to write. Dollar is missing. Okay, go back, fill the details, then click on submit. Clear this console. Clear the console. There is no problem. Now click on book ticket. Wow. When I click on the book ticket, am I able to get the ticket data? Who is giving me this ticket data now? Who is giving me this ticket data now? IRCTC. So now tell me, where is Make My Trip application running and where IRCTC application running? Where the Make My Trip application is running, where IRCTC application is running? Come on, guys. Now, Make My Trip application is running in my Windows computer. Make My Trip application is running in my Windows computer. Where the IRCTC application is running? It is running in the AWS cloud. Running in the AWS cloud. So can I say the first scenario is satisfied? Can I say the first scenario got satisfied? One application is accessing another application. End user communicating with the make my trip is communicating with the IRCTC. End user communicating with the make my trip is communicating with the IRCTC. Now let me show you this clearly once again. Now go back, enter the details and select this information and click on book ticket. Now what happened? Ticket ID, ticket status, ticket cost from to train number. Please find your ticket info. Your ticket booking got completed. Then go back. This is my Make My Trip application. Welcome to Make My Trip application. Here you can enter your details. And you can click on the book ticket button. What end user will think? Ticket is booking by Make My Trip. But actually what happening in the background? So end user is communicating with the Make My Trip application. Make My Trip application having the UI. End user is filling the data in the UI. End user click on the submit button. That request is sent to the Make My Trip controller. Make My Trip controller has taken the data from the UI and it has called the service method. Service method making the REST call. Here, the REST client logic available in my service layer, it is communicating with the IRCTC API. IRCTC API developed by someone. That is another project. So Make My Trip application communicating with the IRCTC application. Make My Trip application communicating with the IRCTC application. Make My Trip is running in my local system. IRCTC is running in the AWS cloud. Now, can I say these are distributed applications? Can I say these are distributed applications now? Yes. How they are exchanging the data? JSON format. Am I writing the logic to convert this passenger data to JSON and the ticket response to Java object? No. So here, REST template will convert the passenger object to passenger JSON, will send you a post request to this URL. That IRCTC will return the ticket response in the JSON format. That the ticket response will be converted into ticket object. The ticket object, that means I'm representing everything in the object format, but internally object will be converted to JSON. JSON will be converted to object. This is the most important logic now. This is the logic which is sending a request to IRCTC API. Guys, easy or difficult? Developing REST client is easy or difficult? Developing the REST client is easy or difficult? Easy. Now, let me debug this code and let me show you clearly. My project is running in the debug mode. Let me go back. I want to book one more ticket. Enter the details from to train number and click on book ticket. When you click on the book ticket, request is coming to Make My Trip controller. So the passenger data came in the passenger object. So whatever the data you enter in the form, that data came to passenger object. With the data, I'm calling service layer method. Go inside the service layer method. Inside the service layer method, we are having IRCTC endpoint URL. In the service layer method, we are having IRCTC endpoint URL. Okay, guys. So now here, process ticket booking passenger object is there. I'm creating REST template object. REST template is what? REST template is a predefined class. It is used to make the REST calls. So to develop a REST client, we can go for REST template. This is one approach, right? In the REST template, there is a method called post for entity. What is the meaning of post for entity? Guys, can you tell me what is the meaning of post for entity? REST template dot post for entity. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of post for entity? Send the post request. Which URL? First parameter representing the URL. What is the second parameter? Request data. I want to send passenger data in the request body. I'm giving the passenger object. Do you think that? So this REST template will send passenger object to the IRCTC, or it will convert passenger data to JSON? It will convert to the JSON. And it will send the passenger data in the JSON format to the IRCTC in the request body. What is this third parameter? Ticket, response type. After sending post request, you will get some response in the JSON. Convert that JSON response to ticket object because I will get the ticket response from the REST API. So I'm making post for entity. When I call post for entity, it sent a post request and I'm getting the response status code. What is the status code I got? 200. So what is the meaning of that? Ticket booking completed successfully. If it is a 200, I will get the body of the response entity. What is the body? Ticket object. Who sent this ticket data? Who is giving this ticket data for us? IRCTC. We are giving passenger data in the input. We got the ticket data in the output. Now I'm returning the ticket object. Whatever the ticket I got from the service layer, I'm sending the ticket data from my controller to UI by using model object. Model.add attribute of key comma value. Then I'm returning success. Success is my JSP. In the JSP, I'm accessing the ticket data. I'm printing the ticket data in the JSP. That's it. We are able to get the ticket data. I have booked 4 tickets. Ticket ID is 104. My ticket booking got completed. Understood? Understood? Easy or difficult? Easy or difficult? Yes. So are you clear with REST API development and REST client development? One application is providing the services to other application. The application which is providing the services to other application, it is called as provider application. The application which is accessing services from other application is called as consumer application. Right. How many endpoints available in the IRCTC API, guys? How many endpoints available in the IRCTC API? Can you tell me? One is post request method, another one is get request method. So can we develop one search page and can we set the ticket based on the ticket ID? Can I develop one search page and can I set the ticket with the ticket ID? Yes. We can develop a search page and we can ask book ticket or search ticket status. Book ticket or search ticket. Okay. Now let me create one more page or else I will do that tomorrow. I will create one more service method. What that one service method is used to book the ticket, another service method to get the ticket status based on the ticket number. I will create one search box, ticket ID, enter ticket ID. When you enter the ticket ID, that should fetch the ticket data from the IRCTC. That I will develop in the tomorrow session. So before that, anybody having any questions? Today class is very important because we developed REST client. By using REST client, we are able to access REST API. Can you guys tell me, anybody having any questions on this?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we are not using request body, so why, how we are getting data, passenger data?
Request body, I already told you 4 times. Post for entity method taking 3 parameters. First parameter will represent the URL. Second parameter will represent request body data.
So in the controller, sir, in the controller, passenger controller.
For the REST controller, request body required. It is not REST controller, it is a normal controller. For controller, form data will be binded to object. If it is a REST controller, then you need to write the request body. For the
then
HTML,
what is the difference between model attribute and request body, sir?
Model is used to send the data from controller to UI.
No, sir. There is model attribute annotation I'm asking.
That is used to bind the data to the form binding object. If you want to bind any data to your form fields, suppose your form is having some drop downs, right? So if you want to bind your object data to the form, then you will go for model attribute. Otherwise, it is not required.
Then, sir, model attribute and request param both are same or different?
Request param means query parameter, man. URL say data aata hai na. Model attribute means form binding object.
No, sir. In my project now, today I have seen that model attribute they are using, and they are sending the data from Postman using header.
Yes. I can say here, I can keep @model attribute. No problem.
Yeah.
That is used to bind the form data to your object. You can keep like this. Okay. What is the meaning of that is, whatever the form data is coming, that form data should be stored into this Java object. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Yes, sir.
What are the way to create the REST client? You said 3 ways, right? Like
I
REST
explained
template.
only, I explained only one approach. Tomorrow I will explain web client also.
Yeah, correct. But my question is, in current prod applications, is it only REST template is the way, or also web client?
It depends on which version of the Spring Boot you are using in your project. I suggest you to go with web client, not with REST template, because already in the documentation they told that don't use REST template.
Yeah, that's okay. I understood, but you said web client is only for Spring 5.x, right?
Correct.
So then REST template only the way to create the REST client.
No, man. If you are using Spring Boot 2.5 that supports Spring 5, right? Then you can go for web client. Which version of the Spring Boot you are using?
Okay.
If you are using Spring Boot 2.x, that internally uses Spring 5.x. So that you can go for WebFlux. If your project is using Spring Boot 1.x, then you cannot go for web client. Then you need to go with only REST template.
So, sir, we can send the XML also in content type.
Yes,
and
sir.
access.
Yeah, as of now, I'm directly calling the post per entity. I'm giving the request object.
Right.
So tomorrow I will tell you how to send the headers also. Today we are sending only body data in the request. We are not sending any headers. We can send the headers also in the request. We can create the REST template object. Here we can create the headers and we can send the headers also in the request. This is the first example of the client, right? We will do 2 to 3 examples. We will understand all that request creation process with the REST template as well as with the flow.
Okay.
Here in ticket.class, this response entity is accepting the JSON file from the IRCTC and it is internally converting to ticket.class.
Yes, IRCTC is accepting JSON as input, IRCTC providing JSON as output. IRCTC will support for both JSON and XML, input and output.
How it is converting to this ticket.class? That it's
internally Jackson API will be used. REST template will use a Jackson API internally to convert the ticket data to the ticket object.
So that we no need to handle only.
No, I already told several times. We no need to do the conversions. Will be taken care by Spring Boot. At the provider side as well as at the consumer side, conversions will be taken care by Spring Boot. That's why before explaining the REST API, I explained how to work with JAXB, how to work with Jackson.
Response entity, if I am not using, if I use directly ticket.class, will it convert to ticket?
Yes, no, you need to specify here. Whatever the response is coming, how you want to represent the response at the client side. If you specify here, the response type as a string.class, you will get the plain JSON data. If you want to convert the JSON to object, you specify to which object it has to convert. You got it?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I have one other question. Like we can think this is a production-based application. So yes, in this case, is this request we also save in MakeMyTrip database?
Yes, we will store it. Whatever the request we are sending, we will store our request. Whatever the response we got, we'll store our response also.
Okay. So both request and response.
Yeah, both request and response will be stored into database for tracking purpose.
Okay. So it
otherwise, how can you understand how many requests you sent to the IRCTC, how many responses you got successfully? You need the tracking, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Sir, we are using JSP. So, sir, JSP is required for this project.
Sir, I told you this is a basic HTML page I want to show you. You can use JSP or you can use HTML. If you know Angular, you can develop it by using Angular, no problem. Okay. I just want to show you the client development. My intention is not to develop the UI. My intention is to show you how to develop REST template logic. Got my point?
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir. In REST template object, sir, there are so many methods available, sir.
Yes, sir. We used only one method, post per entity. We will discuss. But to be frank, do you really need to know about the REST template? What is the documentation saying?
Web client.
Tomorrow we'll work on the web client.
No, sir. My question is regarding about that this is the method about the post for entity. This type of method, so many methods is available. I think
Those
post for object.
those are overloaded methods, man.
Okay.
Post per entity. Overloaded method. URL, request object, response type. If you want to send any query parameters in the request, then second method. If you want to send any path parameters in the request, then third method. So these are overloaded methods. You can see the difference in the signature. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow we are going to use this method because I need to send the ticket ID in the URL to get the ticket data. So URL, request, response, and URI variables. So tomorrow I will use this method or get for entity basically to get the ticket data. So today I want you people to practice this example so that you will clarity how to develop the REST API client. So tomorrow we will dig into the client development. We will see how to send the headers and all that stuff.
Today's class uploading.
Hello, sir.
Will this be available, that thing that you deployed on AWS?
Yeah, I will deploy that in the AWS cloud. I will share the URL in our WhatsApp group. So till tomorrow evening that will be available. You guys can access that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yesterday you told that we are going to provide security to that URL. If you provide the security, then how can we access?
Madam, Spring security concept is there for us. At that time, you will understand it.
Okay. And in real time also, are we going to use the same way, just like you explained?
Yes.
Because most of the projects are in like old projects, right? They use mostly REST template only.
Yes, this is the way how you will make a REST call.
Okay.
The provider application is stored into AWS cloud, and REST client application is stored into the Azure, for example. How can you can access, right?
This provider application running in the AWS, this client application can run in the local. It can be run in the another AWS cloud. It can run in the Azure or in the GCP, wherever it is. With the URL, we are going to access. No problem for that. Okay. This MakeMyTrip application can run anywhere. No issue.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So to communicate to HTTP protocol, already we have Java 9, we have HTTP class, sir. And also some other libraries are there. They provide.
You can use them also. But when you go for the HTTP client and all, you will not have this much luxury to send the object data and converting object to JSON, JSON to object. That facility is there in the REST template and web client. If you go for HTTP client, directly you can send the HTTP request. But what about object to JSON, JSON to object? Conversions, who will take care of that? You need to write it, right?
Yes, sir. Internally, HTTP REST template also using.
We'll use HTTP client only.
Okay.
It is a wrapper which is internally using HTTP.
Okay. Means like a facade design patterns.
Right.
Sir, we will learn Spring Boot with the file handling.
Facade.
Sorry?
Facade, sir.
Facade design pattern. Yeah, fine guys. I will share the REST API URL in the chat, in the WhatsApp group. I want you people to develop the client application, like how I am developing the client for MakeMyTrip. So same way I want you to develop the project in your system so that you will understand how one project will communicate with another project. With this, I'm stopping for today. Tomorrow we'll continue. Tomorrow we'll understand web client concept. Thank you guys. Good night.